All right, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. What a day. It is raining outside. Last night was not horrible at work. Got back at a decent enough time to be able to get inside. Actually got my toast and was able to eat a couple of slices of it prior to going live here. But it is wet, dreary, and yeah, yeah. It's supposed to potentially snow on Sunday. If it does, there are a lot of people at a lot of churches that are going to be at the altar after cursing the white stuff that may fall from the sky. I know this for a fact because I know in my house there's going to at least be one of them, and it's not me. All right. So I want to start out today with this. We all have that one family member, or we have that one coworker that no matter the outcome of a decision or a series of decisions, will just keep going back to it over and over again, pounding that it'll work. It's got to work. It's going to work. Businesses that do this normally fail. Because if something doesn't work, the good businesses pivot and go a different direction. Bad businesses follow a idea that they can't seem to get to work, but the reason they keep following it is because they can't find out why it doesn't work. In my life, I have learned you don't always have to understand why something doesn't work. You just have to be mature enough to understand it doesn't work and you need to pivot. It's not about understanding why it doesn't work. It's understanding, okay, we need to pivot to this. I was watching the game last night, which unfortunately ran with what has happened on Thursday night football this season. And I was watching last night and I was really struggling. Outrageously windy night. Bad windy night. Really windy night. Perfect night for the ground game to be the majority of what happens. Really good game for that to be the case. And Sean Payton, instead of leaning into the run, decided back-to-back drives in the fourth quarter and in the first half to throw 3 straight passes. And this is kind of, and I'm going to have a hot take here. So when you look at what's going on in Denver, you look at Sean Payton's past in New Orleans. I'm going to say something that's going to upset a lot of people because they're not going to understand how that's possible. But I think Sean Payton is the offensive version of Bill Belichick. Now, you guys know I was a fan of the hire. I'm a fan of Sean Payton. But I have now watched his team, and I have watched his play calling. He is trying to do his signature play calling. The play calling that gets him the credit for what he's doing. Could there possibly be a little bit of angst for the fact that Bountygate stole some of the allure of his coaching? Bountygate is a very black cloud over Sean Payton. He is the head coach that authorized targeting players. He's the one we well know. I'm sure there were others. He's the one we well know. And the view of a lot of casual fans after you are the coach that does that, your image drops. So he takes the Denver Bronco job. He goes out to Denver, drafts Bo Nix, which I had said forever that he was going to do. And now he can't get out of his own way with this offensive play calling. He's got the best defense in the NFL. Now, 46 sacks on the year that defense has. And he can't get out of his own way. He can't pivot to what the team needs right now. Sean Payton is an outstanding personnel guy. He's an outstanding team builder and manufacturer with the pieces he brings in. He understands player personnel very well. But his play calling has sucked this year. Let's just be honest. Bo Nix is not Drew Brees right now. He got Drew Brees after already playing in San Diego. He got a quarterback that was already good, not a rookie. He's forcing Bo Nix to take these shots that Bo Nix doesn't want to take. That's not Bo Nix style right now. And Sean Payton is not as good as the Commanders, is not as good as the Ravens at adapting to what your quarterback does best, because he's putting Bo Nix in bad positions, bad throwing options. It's not what he's best at. This Bronco team should be running the ball with the two running backs they have. They should be lining up with their two tight ends. They should be running the ball, grounding this game, giving Nick some play action, letting Sutton beat him on deep dig routes, letting Ingram leak out, being creative with those plays, and not forcing these deep ball throws that Bo Nix doesn't want to throw. It's very obvious he doesn't want to throw them. And I saw that idiot Bart Scott this morning was going off about how the Broncos have a Bo Nix problem. Watch the game. The game plan is bad. Sean Payton is not willing to pivot off of what he did in New Orleans. I seriously think he feels slighted. Listen, Belichick is holding a grudge. Payton is probably holding a grudge. They want to be stern. They don't get as much credit as they think they deserve. It's kind of what we do as humans. But it's really, really bad when you're a head football coach and you've got a very gifted quarterback and you are not running an offense that works for your team. Denver does not have a defensive problem. He doesn't have a quarterback problem. He doesn't have an offensive line problem. He doesn't have a running back problem. The receiver room isn't great. I will give you that. They need to draft. They need to draft a receiver this year, period. They have a play caller problem. And that play caller is Sean Payton. Sean Payton is unwilling to pivot. He's still trying to play this like he did, forcing what worked in New Orleans. You're beating some bad teams. You're barely winning. You would have lost to the Texans if Stroud was in. I'm sorry. That was very clear. You would have lost to the Texans if C.J. Stroud wasn't knocked out. The Raiders last night, it's a Thursday night game, I get it. But you sacked Geno 6 times. You got a pick. You were controlling the entire game. and you only won by 3. And it took a missed field goal by Carlson to even keep you in that position. And I've griped on this multiple times this year. When Bo Nix is allowed to scramble and just roll out, the offense is so much better. He's not stationary like Brees was. The guy can move, and he's better moving right now. He's more comfortable. Put him in the spots he's comfortable in. The only way you're going to beat the Chiefs is if you drop this macho, I know what I'm doing attitude and understand your football team is built differently than what you think it is. It's really well constructed. It's just constructed differently. Its strengths are different than you think. I believe the Broncos are one of the most complete teams in the NFL. From top to bottom, receiver is their weakest spot. I like their running backs, their offensive line, their defense is number one. It's outstanding. Outstanding. Vance Joseph has done an excellent job as defensive coordinator. But you got to be willing to pivot. You can't keep making the same move and saying, this is what I do, and this is how it works, and this is what's going to work, and keep doing it, and it fails, and it fails, and it fails. And unfortunately, because there's a lot of people that don't want to go after Sean Payton because of his big aura, they'll go after everybody else on the team. I'm not going to do that. Kevin Stefanski has seceded play calling for the rest of the year. I think that's so that he can evaluate the rest of the team. And I like that move for him because the rest of the year is going to be set up. He's looking at 2026. I like this move. He's seeing what he's got in his coaches behind him. I love it. Stefanski has not been calling a bad game whatsoever. I think this is 100% for them to be able to look at and scout the talent they have on the team. Love the move. Sean Payton needs to find somebody to take over for a second. See if the offense can actually get some juice because you're not scoring enough points for the way that offense is built. I think Sean Payton is the offensive version of Bill Belichick. Starting to get really hard. There's a lot of friction with him. You got to give him a lot of leeway, a lot of runway, a lot of space. And his play calling, when you watch it, it's not to the strength of the quarterback. Baltimore built an entire offense around Lamar Jackson. The Commanders last year built an entire offense around Jaden Daniels. The Lions have built an offense around Jared Goff, and he is one of the most immobile quarterbacks in the NFL. The Broncos last night, Nix was 16-28, 150 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. One of those interceptions obviously was off Franklin's arms again, which continues to drop footballs. Geno Smith's interception went off of Ashton Genty's. As I told Big J last night, we've seen that multiple times. Running back does the cut route, the ball's on him fast, he hits the ball up in the air. We've seen that countless times. But I believe Sean Payton, if they collapse in the playoffs offensively, I will not blame the offense. I will blame Sean Payton. This team needs to run. This team needs to run the football. They ran the ball last night 27 times for 84 yards. 5 of those runs were Bo Nix for -2. 4 runs were Harvey for 9 yards. Dobbins averaged 4.3 yards a carry. 18 carries, 77 yards. But it has to be purposeful. And that's the difference. And I know it's a really weird take. I know it's a weird take, but that is my feeling on it. There it is. All right, so let's get to what's going to happen this weekend. I have been going over these games consistently, trying to figure out what my pick 6 was going to be. I have no clue. Not going to lie. I've been looking at this, and you guys know me. I'm the underdog guy. I like underdogs. I want to pick underdogs. So I'm going through and I'm like, okay, do I want to pick games just to pick games, or how do I want to do this? And the problem is there's a lot of big spread games that I'm going to spread bet more than pick an outright winner. So the pick six this week actually ended up getting limited because, like I said, I don't pick the really big spreads. If I have no other option, I will do 4.5 point spread games, but I prefer it to be 3.5 or less. Those are the picks that I normally make. So let's jump into it. That means that I got to pick the Browns and Jets. So let me sum this up with how I think this can go. Either it's going to be 20-3 Browns over the Jets, or it's going to be 31-28 Jets over the Browns. Either way, I think Myles Garrett probably has 5 or 6 sacks again. Either way, this game is going to feel really weird in New Jersey. It's going to be 62 degrees. It's going to be really weird. And my thought on this game really is, do the trades scare the players? Or do the trades help the players? Garrett Wilson being back, I believe, should be a bigger thing than it is. You guys know I don't like the Jets offensive coordinator. I don't see a lot of smart decisions with early game play calling to get the team into a rhythm. But I've been struggling with this game. Cleveland is favored by 2.5 points. The Jets and Browns game is just really hard. I could see the Jets winning. And whatever I pick, the opposite is probably going to happen. I have already yielded to that fact. But I'm going to go, I think Cleveland's the better team. Defensively, they're better. I think with Judkins on offense, they're good. Fannin, the tight end, matches Mason Taylor. That's a wash between the two teams. And I am interested to see what happens with the new play caller for the Browns, to see what they do with Dillon Gabriel. I really am kind of excited to see that. So I'm going to go Browns over the Jets. I'm going to go a favorite on the road. Weather's not supposed to be horrible. 62 degrees. Should be pretty good. It should be pretty good. Now, the next game is going to be wet and stormy. It may actually get delayed. There are supposed to be some storms in Tampa. So the question now comes into play. Which team do I want to go with in a rainy game? Where do I think the strength lies most? I really want to pick the Patriots. If it was dry, I would pick the Patriots. I think Vrabel has that team playing really well. The outside would be able to cover the receivers for the Buccaneers. I believe the Patriots are getting stronger and more confident. But in a game where it is wet and rainy, it's going to be a sloppy game. I trust the Bucs at home a little bit more than I do the Patriots on the road in a wet game. So I'm going to take the home favorite, even though I really believe in the Patriots. I'm going to take the home favorite because of the weather. If it was sunny, I would pick the Patriots. But I think in this weather, the run game isn't as sharp for the Patriots, and they're going to have a hard time running against Vita Vea. And I just think the Bucs are going to pull this one out. Off a bye week, I feel like they've got the better team build for a sloppy game. That's just really how I feel. All right, the Jaguars and Texans. This one I hate picking because the Texans have probably, if the Broncos are the number one defense, the Texans are the number two defense. They're outstanding. And they're playing a Jaguars team that is probably going to be without Brian Thomas. They're already without Travis Hunter. They just traded for Jakobi Meyers, so it's not like he's going to have a bunch of the playbook. But the Texans are starting Davis Mills. And the Jaguars defense is still really, really stout. Very stout. The Texan defense is very stout. I will tell you, I am making an alternate spread bet. That is actually what I am doing this week with this game. Not picking winner or loser because I want the better odds. I am going alternate spread bet. I don't think this game gets over 20 points total scored. The over-under for Vegas is 37.5. I'm saying 20. The Texans at home, that defense is relentless. Remember last week? It was 18-15. 18-15. Okay, so that was 33 points last week with Bo Nix after CJ Stroud got hurt. I just don't see this game going really high in points. I really don't. Now, who wins for my actual pick? The Jaguars should win. Davis Mills should not beat Trevor Lawrence. The Texan defense gets a lot of help with their two receivers being out for Jacksonville. I think it's going to end up having to be a run game, a dump-off game, and that kind of plays into the Texans' favor. I feel like taking the upset here. I really feel Jacksonville's favored by 1.5, but I feel like the Texans at home, this is DeMeco Ryans' specialty. Can Liam Cohen, who hasn't really shown the ability all year yet, can Liam Cohen unlock what needs to happen in a tough game? This is a tough game for him, division game, on the road. Can you unlock what you need for this game? I don't know if the answer is yes. And only because they are home. I think the Texans may win this one 9-6. Only because they're home. Only because if the Jaguars had Brian Thomas healthy, I would say the Jaguars would win. They would have the threat on the outside to stretch the defense. Jakobi Meyers would be able to be underneath. It'd be a lot better. They don't have a threat on the outside. De'Ami Brown is hurt still as well. I mean, if the Texans are smart, they're just going to blitz all day. And I don't think the offensive line can hold up. So I'm going to pick the Texans. As much as the Jaguars need this game, the Texans need it more. And they are a team that I said yesterday to look out for. Them and the Ravens are very, very close. So far we got the Browns, the Bucks, and the Texans. Two favorites and an underdog. All right, next game. That is below 3.5 points. The Steelers at the Chargers. This one is going to shock you because I don't like this team as a whole. But I am going Steelers. Yep, there it is. There's my second underdog of the week. And here's why. It's on turf. It's on turf, and I believe the Charger receivers will have room in that secondary against the Steeler secondary. But I also believe that the Steeler pass rush will show up on Sunday night. And because of that, Herbert's going to get hit. I don't think they're going to have a great running game. I think the Steelers will put back-to-back good games together here. They know this is a huge game because the Ravens are right on their tail now. If they lose this game and the Ravens beat Minnesota, You're a one-game difference. Pressure's on. I think the offense for what the Steelers do with the big targets, Darnell Washington, Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith, using the swing passes out of the backfield. I like that offense a little bit that Arthur Smith's doing. And I think because of the offensive line injuries, Alt is out, Slater out, Penning's not going to be ready for this yet. I think the Steelers beat the Chargers. I think it could be a great game. It could be a 23-20 game. 1,000% could be a 23-20 game. But I'm going to go Steelers, road underdog to beat the Chargers. Chargers are favored by 2.5. All right, pick number 5. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Green Bay Packers. This is such a hard pick. I don't know which Green Bay team I'm getting. I don't know which Philadelphia Eagle team I'm getting. Jordan Love this year has 2,000 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Josh Jacobs, 534 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns. This game to me, these are two teams that I really question. I really question. I don't know what the Eagles really are right now. And I have no clue what the Packers are right now. So I hate this game. The over-under on this game is 45.5. I think that's probably about right. 24-21 kind of seems like a game that it could end up being. But who's going to win? Well, I have deliberated on this all night long. And I may change my mind here in the next 5 seconds before I announce who I think is going to win. Nah, I know it's in Lambeau, but I don't think that matters right now. I really don't. I think the Packer offense, because they can't run, I just think the Eagle defense is what makes the difference. So I'm going Eagles on the road. They're an underdog. They are an underdog, but I think they're better. Jordan Love has struggled in big games. Jordan Love has not shown that he can be consistent. They had a bad game last week with Carolina. It's going to be cold, 29 degrees. I mean, it's going to be an old school game, but if you're going to play that way, people are moving a little bit slower. I mean, I think Tucker Kraft being out is going to be a massive loss for Jordan Love. So I'm going to pick Philly. All right, I got one more game. So I got to pick between one of the 4.5-point games. So the 4.5-point spread games are the Giants and Bears, the Ravens at the Vikings, and then the Rams at the 49ers. Those are the 4.5-point game spreads. So I got to pick one of those to go into my pick 6 for the week. And I'm going to go with the hard one. I'm going to go with the Giants and the Bear game. I have been on this. It's going to be 35 degrees. Here's a question. And this is, don't laugh. We've seen this with Tua. Don't laugh. Can Caleb Williams play under 40 degrees? You do realize that Tua Tagovailoa's record under 40 degrees, even with Mike McDaniel and Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, is horrible, right? Like, awful. Jackson Dart, same thing. Mississippi, can he play in the cold? That's the question I actually have about this game. I want to know, can these quarterbacks that are from California and Mississippi, can they play in cold weather? I know what you're thinking. Well, Caleb was there last year. Yeah, it wasn't good. Is he going to be able to play in Chicago? That is a legitimate question for any quarterback at this point. I mean, last week I said the Colts were going to lose because they were playing outdoors. That was it. They're a dome team. They went outdoors to Pittsburgh and looked awful. The first time they had to play in sub weather that wasn't 80 degrees and sunny, they lost. This game fascinates me. The Giants have not won a road game all season. And I'm definitely leaning Bears, but I'm not sure the spread is correct. 4.5 points, I could see this being a field goal game. Jackson Dart can run around. The defense has played much better for the Bears at home than on the road. The Giants, the same thing. But the problem is Caleb Williams is like this. So last week they put up 47 points. Can he put up points again? That's the question. Can he put up points again? I really want to pick the Giants. I really do. I want to pick the Giants. And I don't think the Bears cover, but I'm going to pick the Bears. Graham Gano came out and said, a couple different things about him missing kicks. Well, that's why I can't pick the Giants either. Because I can't trust Gano to make a field goal kick for the Giants when needed. And obviously, I don't trust Santos to kick a field goal I don't trust either kicker in this game. But it could come down to who makes the field goal first. It really could. The Bears may end up being able to run the ball really well and blow them out. Maybe the Giants clamp down because they've done it before. They did it to Philly. They've done it before. Jackson Dart runs around, makes some plays. Both of these quarterbacks. Under 40 degrees, how do you play? And I think that's going to be one of those things that is an underlying thing you need to watch on Sunday is how do they perform suboptimal weather? What do they do? Caleb Williams has a real coach now. That excuse was last year. He's got a real coach. He's got real play caller. He's got a real team built around him. If he sucks, there's an issue. Jackson Dart. He doesn't have neighbors, Scattaboo, but what does he look like? What does he look like in the cold weather? And that's the question. So for Hawks Pick 6 this week, we got the Browns over the Jets, the Bucks to win a really sloppy game over New England, the Texans, because they're at home and that defense is outstanding, to smother the Jaguars and upset them, the Steelers to also smother the offensive line of the Chargers and upset them, Eagles with the upset win on the road in Green Bay because of Tucker Kraft's injury. Primarily, Love has nobody to throw to. He's not comfortable throwing to just anybody. I think that's going to be an issue. And then I'm going Bears over the Giants, but I think it could only be a field goal game. I like the game being close. So that is going to be my pick 6 for Week 10 of the NFL season. There we go. All right, so let's get to some of the other news. We got hockey. Nope, but there it is. All right, so we got some games here that I want to talk about. I did a fake breaking news the other day, going over breaking news. The NHL can actually have a night where a game does not go into overtime. Well, that wasn't last night. Last night, the Boston Bruins beat the Ottawa Senators 3-2 in overtime. The St. Louis Blues went to Buffalo and beat the Sabres 3-0, shutting them out. The New Jersey Devils beat the Montreal Canadiens, you guessed it, in overtime. 4-3, and that was a great game. The Devils scored a goal in each period. First, second, third, and the overtime period. The Carolina Hurricanes beat the Minnesota Wild 4-3. Pittsburgh Penguins took out the Capitals after the Capitals put up 6 goals on the Blues, 5-3. The Flyers beat the Predators 3-1. The Ducks went to Dallas and scorched them in periods 2 and 3, 7-5. Big win. Big win for the Ducks on the road against the Stars. The Lightning beat the Vegas Knights 6-3, and the Florida Panthers are again above 500, winning their matchup against the Los Angeles Kings 5-2. There was only one game in the NBA last night. The Phoenix Suns beat the Los Angeles Clippers 115 to 102. So, there is some rumors now. We are starting the trade rumors, and they're starting in November for National Basketball Association. So what are these rumors? Well, Ja Morant, I don't know if he's got much of a market right now. Primarily for the price of his contract. Zion Williamson, same question. Because of the injuries, though, not the price of the contract. The Hawks could be looking at trading Trae Young. That would be 3 big superstars that would get moved and get traded. 3. The thing about the NBA right now is patience is starting. Like, I think they're going to be, certain teams will be more hesitant to give contract extensions than others due to Ja and Zion. If you see issues, if you see potential downfalls, you're going to take a second look. You have to. Because the NBA, with that new tax, you can't just spend the money on it now. You can't just spend the money to go take care of the problem and wipe it away. I don't know where each one of these stars goes. I really don't. I really don't. And I'm not going to really try to guess just because it's going to take a team that's willing to take a risk if they get Ja, willing to take the injury risk if you get Zion. Look at what the Mavericks did. Davis has been injured. If you're not available, what good are you? Your best attribute is availability. Anthony Davis doesn't have it. Neither does Zion. So are you really willing to give up a ton of assets to go get Zion? Trae Young is starting to get injured a little bit more. He's more reliable than both the other two for sure. Trae Young, though, what's his top end? What are you looking at that you think you can get out of him? So I don't know where they go. But it is a cautionary tale. Ja and Zion, when you see issues, don't give them the big contracts. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. You don't need to give them big contracts. And they're going to try to get rid of, Memphis and New Orleans is going to try to get rid of their, 2 players and get draft picks for them and get assets for them. And I just don't know what's going to be there. And I don't know who's going to go after it. I know there are a couple teams that could easily use a guy like Zion. A couple teams that could use a player like Trae Young and Ja Morant. Absolutely. Could teams use them? 100%. But the contract number is way up here, and the risk factor is even higher. So I don't know. I don't know who's going to take that risk. But they're already starting about the trades. It's November. And the trade rumors are already starting in the NBA. It's absolutely freaking fantastic. All right, let's go to college football. So I want to go over what I have for my Hawks locks for the week. So I've got IU. I locked them in at 15.5. I've got the over on them. Mississippi State, 8.5-point underdogs. I've got them locked in. BYU is 10.5-point underdog to Texas Tech. Don't know how. It's that's a conference battle all day long. And I threw in the freebie like I do when I like a team. I've been a Navy fan for a long time. My dad was in the Navy. I have watched Navy a lot On CBS Sports Network, I have watched a bunch of Navy football. Okay. So when Navy and Notre Dame play, I am always rooting for Navy. And when Navy Army play, it's go Navy, beat Army, and I want the Commander in Chief trophy with the Navy. Been a Navy fan for a long time. So I've got Navy. They're 25.5-point underdogs Notre Dame. I got them covering that spread as well. In the NFL, I got the Bills covering their 9.5-point spread against Miami. I think Miami is toast. I think the team is going to flat out give up on Mike McDaniel. This could be a Charger Brandon Staley issue. This game this week could be like that game the Chargers did at home in prime time, but I think the Dolphins after the trade deadline are just going to be done. The players could just be done. So look out for that. I got the Lions. They're going to control the game against the Commanders. I like Mariota, but I think the Lions score 42 points again and the Commanders score maybe 24. I got them covering the 8.5-point spread. And something I don't normally do, I am picking something in the international series. I've got the Falcons covering the 6.5-point spread because it's overseas. It's that simple. Because it's overseas. All right, let's get to college football. Tomorrow's games. We got some really, really big top 25 matchups. The number one matchup, BYU Texas Tech. Now, I already have BYU sitting in my Hawks locks for the week. The thing is, I think they're going to win too. I really do. I think it's going to be 65 degrees and sunny. And I believe the defense of BYU, which stymied Utah, I believe the defense of BYU will stymie Texas Tech and give them their second loss in the Big 12. I fully believe that. I believe BYU on the road, it's now up to 11.5 points. 11.5 points. Let me check the news here. Hang on. Yeah, BYU is expecting their running back to be back for this game. To me, that is a huge factor. So I am going with BYU over Texas Tech. I am also, because Oregon has not played there. Because they're not used to what Iowa is. Iowa almost knocked off Indiana. It is a 3:30 game on CBS on Saturday. Iowa at home against Oregon. I do not agree with everybody else. I don't think Oregon can win the national championship. They have shown me nothing this year that says they are a national championship team contender. Iowa will play small ball. They'll play really good defense. It's going to be 43 degrees and probably outrageously windy in Iowa. Leads into a running game. Well, the run defense for Iowa is really good, and the run offense for Iowa is also really good. So I'm going to pick Iowa to upset Oregon. 2 of my 3 picks for college are upsets. Not normally a great way, but I love upsets, and in college, it's a lot more fun when they happen. So I am going the Iowa Hawkeyes at home in Kinnick. Oregon is not ready for what's going to take place. Iowa is not a team that is your run-of-the-mill team on the road. It's not as far of a travel, Oregon to Iowa, as a Oregon to a Rutgers or a Northwestern is. This game is a trap game. If they're looking ahead to USC, Oregon is toast. Period. They are toast. But I am going to go with Iowa to upset Oregon. All right. Now, we don't have a bunch of other top 25 matchups because the other matchup that's top 25, it really isn't a top 25 matchup because Missouri doesn't have their quarterback. Pribula is out. So I don't really feel fair picking Texas A&M to beat Missouri in a top 25 matchup because it just doesn't feel right. It really doesn't feel right. But I got a question here. I really do. I got a question here. So, how does LSU play this week? How does LSU play this week? I'm wondering. This is the first game since Brian Kelly's been fired. I am wondering if this team on the road in Alabama just shows outrageous heart. Just comes out with resolve that is not matched whatsoever. Could LSU knock off Alabama? Ty Simpson needs certain things to be successful. He's not a quarterback. He's not your prototypical quarterback that can make his own success. LSU is a 9.5-point underdog. I really thought about putting them in Hawks locks. I have actually locked that bet in as well already. First game without Brian Kelly. The team has had basically 2 weeks to prepare for this game. I'm going to go with the upset of the week. I got all upsets on here. All upsets. I'm going to go with the upset of the week. LSU to go into Tuscaloosa. Play with heart. Silence that stadium. And beat Alabama. Could they get blown out? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think those kids, those coaches are going to know exactly what they need. Brian Kelly did not fit LSU. I think the coaches are going to know what needs to be done. And I like them to make Ty Simpson really uncomfortable. That defense, I think, can be really good. I think could be really, really good this week. And that's what I'm going to go with. I am going to go with LSU to upset Alabama. Yes, you can call me crazy. That's fine. But we've seen stranger things happen. We have definitely seen stranger things happen. All right, Major League Baseball. Let's go ahead and close this out because there's a couple of different things that happened yesterday. So, Don Mattingly left the Blue Jays staff wanting another potential option to be able to manage in Major League Baseball. But yesterday, the Padres hired Greg Stamen to a 3-year deal. And it's a really interesting pick. It's a really interesting pick. There's higher names out there. And some of these hires really make me question. Not going to lie. Some of these hires really make me question. Because I don't know what some of these teams are doing. I really don't. Don Mattingly leaving the Blue Jays, look out for him to potentially go to the Rockies. It's the only manager opening as of right now. And I could see the Rockies easily wanting a guy like Mattingly. Man, I think Ned Yost would be great for the Rockies. I think he'd bring a lot of excitement. So I'm not sure what some of these teams are doing. Like the Twins hiring Derek Shelton really didn't make any sense to me. Rocco Baldelli and Shelton, to me, Shelton couldn't win with the Pirates in the National League, but Rocco Baldelli did win in the American League. Didn't understand that one. I really just, there's some I don't get. Like Kurt Suzuki only has a 1-year contract. I don't get that. I don't get it. But yesterday we had 13 players get the qualifying offer. And the players are Bo Bichette, Bo Bichette of the Toronto Blue Jays, Framber Valdez of the Houston Astros, Dylan Cease from the Padres, Ranger Suarez from the Phillies, Edwin Diaz from the Mets, Gleyber Torres from the Tigers, Brandon Woodruff from the Brewers, the right-hander Zach Gallen from the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Cubs did make an offer to Shota Imanaga. The Padres made an offer to Michael King, and the Yankees made an offer to Trent Grisham. The Cubs also made the offer to Kyle Tucker, and the Phillies made a qualifying offer to Kyle Schwarber. So, FYI, the qualifying offer, if that player decides to sign with another team, that team that made the offer, that had the rights, will then get draft pick compensation. Okay? And it's like trading without trading. It's really weird how Major League Baseball does this. Really, really weird how Major League Baseball does this. But nonetheless, this is the beginning of free agency, and baseball has a really quick offseason. Very, very, very quick offseason. Jorge Polanco declined his option with the Mariners. Rays declined the option with their closer, Fairbanks. He's now a free agent. The Blue Jays did extend John Schneider, and they should have. There's no reason not to extend John Schneider. I'm sorry. That one is just absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. So, the way that I see everything playing out in Major League Baseball right now is the Dodgers are celebrating and every other team is trying to figure out how to catch them next year. And that's it. That is it. That is basically it. All right. There we go. Another day down. Another day down. We have had a less eventful week than I thought we were going to have in the NFL with the trade deadline. Haven't had as much big news or drama this week, which is probably a good thing. And we're heading into week 10. We are over the halfway point of the NFL season. And it is time to show up or shut up at this point. And we'll see what these teams can do on Sunday. As always, guys, I deeply appreciate you hanging out with me again on this fantastic Friday. Make it the best Friday that you can, and I will talk to you guys on Monday. I am hoping that everything next week does get back to relative normal. I should be live every day, 9 o'clock to 10 a.m. every single day. Should have that, obviously, Mondays, because I don't go to work till Monday night. Mondays are easy. So I will see you guys on Monday, 9 o'clock. We'll talk about what happened over the weekend, talk about the news, and we'll see what predictions we got going forward. Have a great weekend, wherever you are. If it snows, listen, don't get too cranky. We're in November at least. It's not October. If it snows, don't be too cranky. But hey, how about this? Start the fire. I already have. My wife asked for the fireplace to be started in October. So I already did. I've been starting the fireplace. It's been absolutely gorgeous. You know, started a new TV series last night. So I'm sure we'll be sitting around with the fireplace, watching TV as a family, and we're going to have a good weekend. You guys do the same. Watch some football. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you guys on Monday. As always, like, subscribe, share the podcast with a friend. I deeply appreciate it. Until Monday morning, for now, I am the Hawk, and I'm out. Thank you guys for watching.